I was barefoot, half asleep, standing in my kitchen and microwaving leftover Chinese food when the knock came. Not a polite tap, either. This one had authority behind it. Heavy, fast, urgent. My dog Max barked once, then hid behind the couch like he knew something I didn't. I opened the door and saw two uniformed officers on my porch. One of them, a tall, tired-looking guy with a mustache that looked like it hadn't had a good day in years, took a step forward. "Mr. Tyler Grant." "Yeah," I answered, suddenly wide awake. "We received a 911 call. A child's been left in your car, unconscious. We need you to step outside." "What?" I laughed, confused. I don't have a kid. You've got the wrong guy." The second cop, shorter, younger, and way more intense, didn't laugh. He pointed at the driveway. "That your car?" I looked past them. My black SUV was parked exactly where I left it last night. Except now, there was a crowd. Flashing lights. A woman crying near the passenger side. An EMT rushing back and forth. "What the hell?" "Sir, we're placing you under arrest for child endangerment. You have the right to remain silent." "Hold on." I pulled back as handcuffs snapped onto my wrists. "This has to be a mistake. I live alone. I've lived alone for 5 damn years. Ever since," I choked on her name. "Since the divorce." They didn't care. I was shoved into the back of the cruiser while neighbors watched from their lawns, gripping their coffee cups, and fake concern like this was another episode of Desperate Housewives. I caught Mrs. Klein whispering to her daughter and pointing. Damn gossip never missed a chance. The ride to the station was surreal. My heart pounded like a war drum, my brain spinning through impossible scenarios. Did someone steal my car? Was this some psycho prank? Who the hell would do this? But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what I heard when they finally let me speak. "We found documents in your glove box," Officer Mustache said as he slid a file across the table. "Registrations under your name. Diapers in the back seat. A baby seat buckled in. A blanket with the name Lila embroidered on it." Lila. My throat went dry. I hadn't heard that name in 5 years. 5 damn years. And only one person had ever said it to me with meaning. Angela. My ex-wife. Angela used to say if we ever had a daughter, she'd name her Lila. Said it sounded delicate and powerful, like a girl who could run a company or burn it down. But we never had kids. Not when we were married. So why was that name suddenly real? I leaned forward. "Where's the child now?" "She's okay. Unconscious due to heat exhaustion, but the paramedics say she'll be fine. She's about 4 years old." 4. I did the math. Divorced 5 years ago. Split abruptly after I caught Angela cheating with a client at her real estate firm, a guy named Greg Whitman, who looked like he'd been assembled by Instagram and HGH. We never talked again after the divorce. No messages. No Christmas cards. No late-night regrets. Just radio silence. Now a 4-year-old with our dream name was found in my car. The cops exchanged a glance, then dropped the final bomb. "The child's mother is listed as Angela Whitman, and your name is on the birth certificate as the father." That was when the ground dropped out beneath me. My hands clenched into fists. My chest burned. She did what? Angela had fake paternity paperwork. She forged my name, used it to frame me, and then left her daughter, to cook in my car like I was some deadbeat psycho. Why? Why now? And how the hell did she even get into my car? But deep inside, under the shock, a darker thought twisted like a knife. What if this was her revenge? Angela always had a taste for drama. After I found out she was screwing her way through open houses, she'd screamed that I'd ruined her life. Said I'd taken everything. Maybe this was her twisted attempt to return the favor. Or worse, maybe she wanted me in prison. My eyes locked onto the two officers. "I want a lawyer." And that was just the beginning. I sat in that interrogation room for 4 hours. No water. No updates. Just 4 walls and a camera blinking red like it was watching me drown. The lawyer they finally sent was some overworked public defender named Carla. Sharp eyes. Blunt tone. She didn't sugarcoat anything. "They're considering felony charges," she said, flipping through a folder. "But your record's clean. No kids. No prior anything. So something's fishy. Something's insane," I snapped. I haven't spoken to Angela in 5 years. I didn't even know she had a kid. Now suddenly, I'm the father of a 4-year-old left in my car? This doesn't just stink. It reeks of her. Carla stared at me for a second, then leaned in. "You sure she's that type of woman?" I gave a hollow laugh. Angela was the type who could lie without blinking, flirt with the waiter while holding your hand, and swear it was just networking. The kind of woman who once told me love was boring if it didn't come with chaos. And chaos, that was her love language. The last time I saw her, she'd packed her bags with the grace of a Broadway actress, tears and all, swearing Greg meant nothing, that he was a mistake. Said I pushed her to it, that I was too stable, whatever the hell that meant. And now, she's got a kid with my name on the birth certificate and police showing up like I'm some monster. Carla got me out on bail by nightfall. I stepped outside and breathed real air again, only to find the vultures already circling. A reporter shoved a mic in my face, asking if I had anything to say as a father. I ignored her and pushed through the crowd. At home, the silence was crushing. I poured myself a drink, then stopped halfway. No, I needed answers, not a hangover. I booted up my old laptop. Angela had blocked me on everything, but I knew her better than she thought. Her real estate agency's website still had her name, still had her face. Too perfect, too fake. I stared at her smile for a minute, rage bubbling up in my gut. That was the same smile she wore the night she told me I was boring. The same smile she gave Greg when she thought I wasn't watching. I clicked on her business Instagram. There it was. A post from a week ago. Her in front of a luxury home, holding a toddler in one arm. Caption, Lila's first listing. My little boss baby. I zoomed in. The girl had my eyes. My goddamn eyes. I felt the floor shift again. Like reality itself was rewriting under me. Could it be? No. No. I had taken precautions. Angela and I never planned a child. I remembered every damn conversation about it. But if Lila was mine, then where was the proof? The documents? The tests? And then came the knock on the door. Not police. Angela. She stood there in designer heels, sunglasses on at night, lips painted blood red, like she was stepping off a magazine cover instead of walking into the house of a man she just framed. Hi, Tyler, she purred like nothing had happened. I didn't answer, just stepped aside and let her walk in. She made herself at home instantly, tossing her purse on my couch like she still owned it. Like she owned me. What the hell did you do? I asked, my voice low. She sighed dramatically, pulling off her glasses. Is that any way to greet the mother of your child? You forged my name. You put a kid in my car and called the cops. What? She gave a wicked little smirk. Because I needed you to see her. I stared at her, stunned. Angela, are you out of your damn mind? That's not how normal people introduce someone to their kid. Oh, please, she waved a hand. You never returned my calls. I tried. You blocked me. What was I supposed to do? Lila kept asking about her father, and I thought, maybe if you saw her, really saw her. So you had me arrested? She stood up now, her voice rising. Don't act like you're some saint, Tyler. You left me. You walked away and never looked back. I had to raise her alone while you got to live in peace. I shook my head. Because you cheated. With a client. You chose this. Oh, come on. You think Greg was the only one? Men like him were easy. You were the hard part. Always watching. Always judging. That was it. I walked to the door and opened it wide. Get out. She hesitated, then stepped closer. You are her father, Tyler. I wasn't lying about that. And if that's true, we'll prove it. But you don't get to ruin my life and pretend it's a favor. You don't ever show up like this again. She stared for a second, something flickering in her eyes, something that almost looked like fear. Then she smiled that damn smile. You've got 48 hours to figure it out. After that, my lawyers call CPS. And just like that, she was gone. And I was left staring into the night, wondering if my worst nightmare had just become my responsibility. I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed all night, the same words playing on repeat in my head. You are her father. That wasn't a phrase you could forget or ignore. Not when it came from Angela's lips, poisoned with lies. Yes, but this one had roots. I remembered the timing. Our last night together, before everything exploded, Angela had shown up in lingerie, acting like nothing was wrong. It was manipulative, a distraction, a cruel attempt to reset the board while hiding the knife behind her back. That night, she pulled me in with her tricks, whispered apologies, promised she'd cut things off with Greg. And I was a damn fool. I let her. Could it have happened then? For years and 9 months ago, I reached for my phone, hands trembling, and searched for a private paternity lab. I booked a rush appointment for that afternoon. If she was telling the truth, I'd deal with it. If she wasn't, I'd bury her with every legal weapon I had. But my thoughts weren't just spinning around Lila. They were drifting to why Angela did this now. What changed? Why suddenly drop a child into my lap and fake an emergency? What was the game here? I had questions, and only one person besides Angela might hold a few answers. Greg Whitman. I knew where he worked. He was always flaunting that finance job, like talking about crypto and hedge funds made him smarter than everyone else. I showed up at his downtown office around 11 a.m., dressed in yesterday's shirt, eyes bloodshot. I didn't care. He was mid-conversation with a secretary when I walked in. His jaw dropped. "Tyler, don't act surprised. We need to talk. I'm at work, man." "You and Angela still playing happy family?" His face twisted, and just like that, I had my answer. "No? That's interesting," I muttered. "She used your last name on her kid." He looked around, flustered. "Look, I don't know what she told you, but we haven't been together in over a year. She cheated on me, all right? She's crazy." That hit me like a truck. "She cheated on you too?" Greg nodded, rubbing the back of his neck. "Caught her with some guy from her gym. She always needed attention, like a drug. You give her affection, she calls you clingy. You give her space, she says you're distant." My stomach churned. This wasn't a woman spiraling. This was a woman calculating. If Greg wasn't the dad, and she was desperate enough to pull this insane stunt now, then I was her only target left. I drove straight to the lab and got swabbed. I sent in paperwork, confirmed details, and paid for the rush. They said I'd have the results in 72 hours. 3 days of hell. That night, I found myself staring at Lila's photo on Angela's Instagram. She looked like a copy-paste of my younger sister at that age. Same dimples. Same curly brown hair. The resemblance was haunting. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't deny it. The next morning, I woke up to my front yard trashed. Eggshells on the driveway. Spray paint across the garage. Deadbeat dad. Angela. No one else would go this far, this fast. I called the police, filed a report, and tried to stay calm. But the rage inside me was burning through my skin. This wasn't just a mistake anymore. This was war. She wasn't done either. That afternoon, I received an envelope. No return address. Inside, photos. Dozens of them. Me walking out of the police station. Me arguing with Angela at my doorstep. Me talking to Greg outside his office. And one blurry photo of me at the paternity lab. She was watching me, tracking me, manipulating every move. And at the very bottom of the stack, a birth certificate. Typed clean and legal looking. Father, Tyler James Grant. Mother, Angela Marie Whitman. I stared at that piece of paper for minutes, jaw locked, heart racing. I hadn't signed anything. I'd never seen it before. She forged the entire damn thing. That night, she called me. First time in years. "Did you like the photos?" she asked casually. "You're out of your mind." "No, Tyler. I'm a mother. You're just a coward who ran. And now you're going to step up, publicly, or I'll bury you with court orders." I said nothing. She chuckled softly. "You don't get it yet, do you? This was never about the girl. Lila's just the bait. You're the prize." She hung up. And in that moment, I realized. Angela didn't want co-parenting. She wanted control. Of me. Of my life. Again. But this time, I wasn't the same man she walked over 5 years ago. And this time, I wasn't going down quietly. I didn't tell anyone. Not my brother, not my lawyer, not even Max, who watched me pace the living room like a lunatic. I kept it all in, let it rot, let it harden. Because if I started to speak it out loud, it'd feel real. And I wasn't ready for real yet. The second night came fast, like I blinked and darkness swallowed the house again. I locked every door, drew every curtain. Angela had proven she was willing to cross every line. Framing me for child endangerment was only the opening act. Around 2 a.m., the phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, then saw the text. "You're not ready for what's next. You should have stayed gone." I stared at the message, cold flooding my chest. I typed back one word. "Angela." No response. I knew it was her. She was unraveling. Or maybe this was her version of getting organized, messing up everything around her so she could be the one to clean it. Third day. The paternity results came at noon. I sat in my car outside the lab, envelope in hand, fingers trembling. I opened it slowly, like it might explode. Probability of paternity, 0%. My breath stopped. I wasn't the father. Lila wasn't mine. Angela lied. Not that I was shocked, but seeing it in print hit different. It wasn't just a hunch anymore. It was law. Proof. A weapon. I called Carla, told her everything. She told me to scan the document and forward it immediately. This changes the entire case, she said. Now we sue. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt violated. Used. Angela had taken my name, my past, my peace, and smeared it across a 4-year-old girl who had no idea she was being weaponized. I drove to her condo. I shouldn't have, but I couldn't let this sit. She opened the door like she'd been expecting me. No surprise. No fear. Just that smug little tilt of her head. I thought you'd show up. You're insane, I said. My voice was shaking, but not from fear. From the kind of rage that simmers under your skin for days and finally explodes. She said, stepping aside to let me in. You should be thanking me. I gave you a chance to matter again. I walked past her into the living room. Lila's toys were scattered across the floor. A Disney cartoon played softly on the TV. The little girl wasn't there. She's with my sister, Angela said, pouring herself a glass of wine at 3 p.m. like this was some brunch conversation. I tossed the envelope onto the coffee table. You forged my name. On a legal document. You left a child in my car. Called the police. Tried to have me arrested for something I didn't do. And she's not even mine. Angela sipped her wine. Well, now you know. So what are you going to do about it, Tyler? Cry? Call your lawyer? Go public? Why, Angela? I asked. What do you get from this? She smiled, eyes glinting like she was proud of something. Greg cut me off. My last client bailed. The market's tanking. You think I was going to live like some washed-up divorcee in the suburbs? Please. I needed a headline. A villain. You were perfect. You dragged an innocent kid into this. She'll never know. She's 4. By the time she's old enough to ask questions, she'll have a real father. One who pays. One who's useful. You're disgusting. She stepped closer, uncomfortably close. Her perfume smelled like money and regret. You still get under my skin, she whispered. You always did. But you left me, Tyler. So now I get to decide what that means. I turned and walked out. She didn't try to stop me. Didn't scream or throw anything or fake tears like she used to. Just let me leave, like she'd already won something I hadn't figured out yet. Back home, I emailed the lab results to Carla. Attached the photos. The text messages. Every piece of this grotesque puzzle. Then I went to the bathroom and threw up. Because for all the proof I had, I knew this wasn't over. Angela didn't play fair. She played until the board caught fire and no one remembered who was winning. And deep in my gut, I knew she still had another move. One I wouldn't see coming. The silence after that was louder than anything. Days passed. No calls. No visits. No texts. No Angela. It was like she'd vanished into the shadows after detonating a bomb and watching from a distance as the dust settled. But I knew her. She didn't go quiet unless she was setting up the next hit. So I stayed ready. I documented everything. Dates, times, screenshots. Carla was already working on a civil case, and the police had reopened the investigation, this time with Angela as the primary suspect for falsifying legal documents and filing a false report. But even with the law slowly catching up to her, I couldn't relax. There was something in the way she'd smiled that last day. Like she knew something I didn't. Something that would hurt. It came on a Tuesday. A knock at the door, gentle this time. I checked the peephole. 2 men in suits. Not cops. Something worse. Mr. Grant. One of them asked when I opened the door. Yeah. We're from the Department of Family Services. We have an order to conduct a welfare check on Lila Whitman, who is allegedly residing at this address. I blinked. Laughed once, sharp and bitter. What the hell are you talking about? She doesn't live here. She never did. The taller one lifted a file. According to Ms. Angela Whitman's affidavit, this is the child's primary residence as of last week. She claimed you had assumed custody during an emergency transition period. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. She's lying. I have proof. Paternity test says I'm not the father. I've never had custody. I've barely spoken to that woman in 5 years. They exchanged a glance. Well, one said carefully, we'll need to confirm that with our supervisor. In the meantime, we recommend securing legal representation and preparing for a formal hearing. Ms. Whitman has filed for child support and emergency guardianship reassignment in your name. My blood turned to ice. She what? She claimed you've been acting erratically, that you removed the child from her care, that you're refusing to return her. I nearly choked. That never happened. I haven't seen that child since the day you people arrested me. He flipped another page in the file. She also submitted a signed testimony from her sister stating the child was dropped off at this address last weekend. I stared at him. That's impossible. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Angela had finally pulled her last trick. She was going to drag me through hell until I broke. And this time, she wasn't bluffing. She was playing for keeps. For money. For control. For revenge. I closed the door and called Carla. She answered on the second ring. Talk. They just showed up. Child Services. Said Angela filed for support and listed my place as the kid's new home. Silence. Then, she's trying to trap you in a custody case. I don't have custody. I don't have the kid. Doesn't matter. She's playing optics now. If she creates enough confusion, enough conflicting records, a judge could order a temporary evaluation. Maybe even supervised visitation. With a child that's not even mine? Yes, she said. Until the court catches up, you're legally vulnerable. I sat down slowly, head pounding. So what do? We hit back harder, she said. I'm filing an injunction to block her from any further filings until this case is resolved. I'll submit the paternity test, your arrest report, the false claim she made. But Tyler, she's going nuclear. This won't stop here. She was right. It didn't. That night, I found a note taped to my back door. Handwritten. Neat. Meant to unnerve. You don't have to be the father to pay like one. No signature. Just those words. The next day, my car alarm went off at 4 a.m. All 4 tires were slashed. Angela wasn't trying to win. She was trying to wear me down. Kill me slowly. Death by harassment. Death by bureaucracy. And the worst part? There was still a little girl in the middle of all this. A child being used like a pawn in her mother's sick power game. I sat in the dark that night and thought about how easy it would be to run. Change my number. Move. Disappear. But then I saw that face again. Lila's. My eyes in her face. She wasn't mine. But somehow, I couldn't abandon her either. And that's when it hit me. Angela wanted me to fight her. But maybe I'd win by not fighting at all. Not on her terms, anyway. I opened my laptop. Started typing something new. Something dangerous. Something she would never see coming. I started with the one thing Angela had always underestimated about me. My patience. She played dirty. Fast. Emotional. She struck hard and expected her enemies to collapse. But she never planned for someone to stay calm. To wait. To listen. And I'd had 5 years to sit in silence. To study her chaos from afar. Now, I finally had something she couldn't spin. I emailed Carla with a new idea. A long shot. Risky. But the kind that might flip everything. Angela was trying to weaponize public perception, hoping to paint me as an unstable, absentee father, even if I wasn't one. She had already dropped false documents, used her sister as a pawn, even risked her own daughter's life just to create a narrative. But if we could prove her history of manipulation, maybe even mental instability, we could go deeper than just defamation. We could go criminal. Carla responded within the hour. If we find proof she's done this to anyone else, any false claims, threats, forged paperwork, it's enough for a full-scale investigation. And I knew exactly where to start. Greg. I called him again. This time, I wasn't asking for gossip. I needed names. Patterns. Paper trails. At first, he hesitated. Didn't want to get involved. She's dangerous, man. The kind of dangerous that doesn't show up in mugshots. She hits you where it's personal. She already did, I said. But if we don't stop her, she'll keep doing it. To someone else. Maybe worse. Silence on the line. Then, she once tried to fake a miscarriage. Told a guy she was pregnant. Used it to get 10 grand. Disappeared when he asked for proof. That was it. The threat I needed. I spent the next day contacting that man. His name was Marcus. He was real. He had receipts, text messages, even bank transfers. She'd never been pregnant. Never even been to a doctor. But she made him pay, emotionally and financially. I sent everything to Carla. She said, "We've got her." The following week was a storm. Court filings. Police interviews. Media digging. Angela had triggered the system so hard and so fast that she didn't notice when it started swinging back. When the DA's office got wind of the fake paternity claim combined with the endangerment call, they opened a formal case. Fraud. Perjury. Child endangerment. And the best part? Her sister cracked. Angela had roped her into the lie by threatening to cut her off financially. Turns out she was paying for her apartment and car lease. The sister had enough. She turned over emails, voice recordings, Even a secret video of Angela rehearsing the call to police. I need to sound upset, not crazy, Angela had said. Just desperate enough to make him look like the problem. It was over. That afternoon, I got the call I'd been waiting for. She's being arrested, Carla said. Charges are formal. You're officially clear of everything. I sat there in the kitchen, phone still to my ear, unable to speak. It was finally done. Angela was going down. But even in victory, I didn't feel like celebrating. Because the cost had been too high. My name, dragged through headlines. My job, put on leave while things were evaluated. My mental health, shredded. And worst of all, Lila, that sweet little girl, caught in a nightmare she never asked for. A pawn in a game she didn't understand. She'd wake up one day and realize her mother wasn't who she thought she was. That the stories she'd been told were lies. That her name, her birth certificate, had been forged in fire. And I wouldn't be there to soften that blow. I wasn't her father. But I cared about her in a way I didn't expect to. 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside, a crumpled photo of Lila. On the back, written in Angela's sharp handwriting. Congratulations. You win. But she still looks like you, doesn't she? That night, I sat on my porch, Max curled at my feet. I looked at the stars and wondered what kind of person sees a child as a weapon. What kind of damage Angela must have endured to become the kind of woman who sets fire to everything and calls it love. I would never know. I didn't want to. But I knew this. Some scars are better than silence. Because they remind you of what you survived. And some victories don't come with celebration. Just peace. And for the first time in years, I had it. 3 months passed. It's strange how fast people move on once the storm ends. Headlines die. Neighbors stop staring. Co-workers return to their shallow smiles and morning coffee chatter like none of it happened. Like I wasn't almost framed as a child abuser. Like I didn't have to claw my name out of the dirt Angela buried it in. But I didn't move on. Not entirely. Some part of me still wakes up at 4 a.m. in a sweat, hearing the echo of that knock on the door. Some part of me still checks the back seat of my car every time I lock it, just to be sure. And every now and then, I swear I hear her voice, sweet, venomous, saying, "You don't have to be the father to pay like one." Angela took pieces of me I didn't know I had left. But the courts took something back. Her custody was revoked. Lila was removed from her care and placed in temporary foster guardianship. The court appointed a psychological evaluation for Angela, which she failed. Narcissistic personality disorder, delusional paranoia, manipulative tendencies. It was all on paper now. But none of that mattered when I saw Lila again. It was supposed to be a short visit. Supervised. Just for closure. I wasn't the father. Legally, emotionally, biologically, I had no claim. But she ran to me anyway. She didn't even hesitate. She saw me and sprinted across that dull government office carpet like I was the sun in her sky. Wrapped her little arms around my legs and looked up with those damn brown eyes. "Hi, Daddy." My heart broke. Shattered. Because how do you explain to a 4-year-old that she's been lied to? That the man she's calling Daddy is just a guy her mother used like a pawn? You don't. You kneel down. You smile through the burn in your throat. And you say, "Hey, sweetheart." She talked the whole hour. About her favorite cartoons, her favorite snacks, how she hated sleeping without her nightlight. I listened to every word, nodding, laughing, pretending it didn't hurt. But when it was time to leave, she grabbed my hand and whispered, "You'll come get me next time, right?" I didn't answer. Because I couldn't lie to her too. When I got home, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with Max and stared at the wall until the sun came up. I thought I was free. But Angela left a shadow that didn't go away with her arrest. She left a child with no anchor. No truth. Carla called the next day. "There's been a request," she said. "From the state. They're looking for someone to take long-term guardianship. Lila doesn't have any suitable relatives. And, well, they asked if you'd consider applying." I didn't speak. "I know what you're thinking," she continued. "You're not her father. You owe her nothing. But Tyler, you saw her. You know what she's up against. Without someone like you, she's going to bounce around the system until she forgets what real love even looks like." I closed my eyes. I saw Angela again. Laughing, lying, throwing grenades, and calling it affection. I saw Lila, soft, small, innocent, running to me like I was her only safe place. I exhaled, slow and deep. "Send me the paperwork." And just like that, the story I thought ended with betrayal and fire started again with something harder. Something better. Responsibility. This time, not one forced on me through lies or legal traps, but one I chose. Angela wanted to destroy me, but she gave me something instead. A reason to rebuild. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. And sometimes, the most unexpected pain becomes the foundation of something unbreakable. The adoption was finalized in spring. No cameras, no crowd, just a quiet courtroom, a smiling judge, and a little girl in a yellow dress who didn't understand the gravity of what was happening. Only that she was holding my hand, and that I never let go. When the gavel fell, she looked up at me and whispered, "Can we get pancakes now?" I laughed, choked, nodded. "Yes, sweetheart. Let's go get pancakes." And just like that, the cycle was broken. Angela tried to twist my life into something ugly, something bitter and broken. But in her madness, she gave me the one thing she never expected: purpose. Not a title, not revenge, not closure. Something real. I won't lie. Some nights I still remember the sound of those handcuffs, the questions, the shame. I remember Angela's smug smile, her sharp words, her twisted games. I remember standing in the wreckage of my name, wondering how the hell I'd ever feel whole again. But then I hear little feet running down the hallway in the morning. "Daddy, I had a dream I was a dinosaur." I see her eyes when she's happy. I see how safe she feels just being near me. I tuck her in at night, knowing she's not a pawn anymore. She's not a strategy. She's not a headline or a trap. She's just Lila. And I'm just the man who didn't run. To anyone reading this, wondering what to do when the person you loved turns into a stranger, don't let them turn you into one too. Stay who you are, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Because one day, you'll look back and realize that surviving them wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your real one. And sometimes, the deepest betrayals lead you to the most unexpected love. Not perfect, not planned, just real. And real is enough.